Hello and welcome to your video training on the 4 secrets to amazing tarot reading. So my name is Kate. I'm also known as the Daily Tarot Girl, and I'm so happy to have you here with me, and I'm so excited to share my 4 favorite secrets to amazing tarot readings. So let's dive in. So tarot secret number 1 is use your intuition. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how comfortable do you feel with incorporating your intuition into your readings? So 1 being not comfortable at all, and 10 being totally at ease, totally comfortable. Where would you put yourself on that scale? And my next question that I have for you is, if you're not totally comfortable incorporating your intuition into readings, what stops you? So what stands in your way? What stops you from using your intuition more? I find that there's 2 main things that stop people from using their intuition in a reading. And I'm going to tell you what those are, but first, I want to talk a little bit about the 2 different ways to read a tarot card. So you can read a tarot card with your mind, with your intellect, or you can read it with your intuition, or you can do a combination of both. So when you read a tarot card with your mind only, what you're doing basically is you're analyzing that card. You're looking at that card and you're looking at, okay, what symbols are on that card, what numbers, what suit is this card from, what is this card's meaning, what are the keywords. You're really kind of analyzing that card. And when you read a card with your intuition, the process is different. So you're paying attention more to your feelings and your emotions that come up when you look at this card. And sometimes we'll be looking at a card and you might get certain impressions or ideas that may not necessarily have anything to do with the traditional meaning of that card. And that's usually when your intuition is speaking to you. So when you're reading a card intuitively, it's like you're feeling into that card versus when you're reading it with your mind, you're analyzing. So I find that when you read tarot with your intellect alone, readings can become very one-dimensional, very lifeless, and kind of flat. So this is how I read tarot when I first learned how to read tarot, because I didn't know there was any other way. So I would just really focus on, what my tarot book said the meaning of that card was. And, of course, my readings were very flat, very boring. And what I've come to notice is that when I incorporate my intuition into my reading, so when I read with both my intellect and my intuition, my readings are more, there's more of a spark to them. So it adds more magic and more fabulousness. My readings are more vibrant when I do that. So I've done readings where I just use my intuition, and that's not good either. Those readings feel, to me, very ungrounded and just kind of airy-fairy. But when I combine my intuition with my knowledge about tarot, I find that that's what produces the most helpful readings. So that's really kind of where the magic is. So intuition is that magic ingredient that's going to bring spark to your readings. So don't be afraid to incorporate your intuition into more of your readings. So now I want to talk about the 2 reasons why tarot readers hesitate to use their intuition. So the first reason is fear. A lot of people are afraid to use their intuition. So there's this fear of looking stupid and getting it wrong. So sometimes I'll be doing a reading for someone and suddenly I'll just get this intuitive idea to say something. But what I want to say doesn't necessarily relate to the specific card that I'm reading. So sometimes, most of the time I trust my intuition and I share that information, but sometimes I kind of hesitate and I think, oh, what if I say this and I look stupid? What if I'm wrong and then I look really flaky just saying this weird thing out of left field? So that's really kind of one reason why people hesitate to use their intuition. They're afraid of being wrong or looking stupid. The other aspect to this is sometimes we're afraid to really open up to our intuition. So I remember when I was first learning how to be more intuitive and how to kind of open up to your psychic senses, there was this hesitation. I was a little bit worried that if I opened up to this part of myself, that it would allow me to see things and know things that I didn't want to know. It would be like opening a can of worms that I would regret opening. So I remember there was that first hurdle of kind of getting over that fear initially. The fear of, opening that can of worms that is your intuition, and also the fear of looking stupid. So the second reason why a lot of tarot readers hesitate to use their intuition in a reading is that they aren't really sure how to incorporate their intuition. So even if you're a really intuitive person, and even if you know a lot about tarot, it may not be obvious to you how you can combine the two. So I'm going to show you. So how exactly do you use your intuition in a tarot reading? The number one tip that I can give you is don't think about the card in front of you, but feel into it. So instead of analyzing a card to death, think about feeling into that card. And I'm going to walk you through an exercise here so you really understand what I'm talking about. So let me just move my face. Okay, so here we have the Three of Cups. This is from the Hesychos Tarot by Mary Griffin. It's a fabulous deck and I love it. And we have the Three of Cups. So I want you to spend a moment gazing at this card and notice what feelings and what emotions come up for you when you look at this card. How does this card make you feel? And then use your five senses to really sense into this card. So, use your sense of taste. Think about, if this card were a food and you were eating it, what would it taste like? Would it be sweet and soft, or would it be salty and crunchy, sour? What would it taste like? Really put yourself in this card and use all your senses. How would this card smell if you were inside this card? What kinds of noises and sounds do you hear? Maybe you hear the waves or you hear the wind. What does it feel like to be in this card? And all of these things are going to give you a sense of this card. You're going to get kind of a sense of what this card is about. And let this card really speak to you. So just kind of sit back. Instead of trying to figure this card out and figure out what it means, let it talk to you. What message does this card have for you? And you might want to pause the video here to give yourself extra time, but I'm going to move on. So I'm going to move on to tarot secret number 2. Connect with your deck. So I have a question for you. It's another scaling question. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how connected do you feel to your tarot deck? So if you think of your tarot deck as being like a person, do you feel like your tarot deck is like a best friend that you feel really connected with, that understands you? Or do you feel like your tarot deck is this mysterious stranger that you're constantly trying to engage in conversation, but they're just not talking? So a 1 would be, you don't feel very connected. 10 would be you feel super connected. So I have found that if you want really helpful, high quality tarot readings, it helps to have a really good connection with your deck. So the quality of the connection that you have with your cards is going to determine the quality of your readings. So there's 3 things that you can do to help yourself connect to your deck. So one of them is to spend quality time with your cards. The second thing is to interview your deck, get to know your deck. And the third thing is to show your gratitude. So I'm going to talk about each of these things on their own. So I'm just going to move my head here. So spend quality time with your cards. Explore your deck with fun tarot exercises. And I've got tons of fun tarot exercises on my website. So if you go to my site, dailytarotgirl.com, maybe you're already there right now, and check out the Learn Tarot section right at the top there on the top bar. This section has all kinds of fun exercises and things you can do with your cards. So I find that sometimes we fall into this trap of only using our tarot deck for doing readings. And that's only one thing that you can do with your cards. There's all kinds of really cool exercises and stuff that you can do to connect with your deck and to learn more about yourself that isn't necessarily a reading. It's different. So this whole compulsion to constantly be doing readings with your card, or with your deck, it's kind of like, okay, imagine if you had a friend who only calls you up when she needs something or when she's in a crisis or she, needs some advice, but otherwise you don't hear from her. That's kind of the same as only using your deck for readings, only going to your deck to, ask it questions or to get advice. So you want to make sure that you do other kinds of things with your cards as well, not just readings. And meditate with your deck. So sometimes, especially when I get a new deck, I'll meditate and I'll just sit on my couch kind of with my legs crossed and I'll just hold my deck in my hands and just close my eyes and just think about kind of breathing into my deck. And this is really just kind of to connect with my cards on an energetic level and to sort of infuse my deck with my own energy. Another thing you can do, which is kind of similar, is to sleep with your cards on your nightstand, so right next to you. I've heard some people say like sleep with your cards under your pillow, which just sounds uncomfortable. Okay, so interview your tarot deck. This is my favorite thing to do. This is a wonderful way to get to know your cards. So instead of always asking your deck questions about your life, ask your deck questions about itself. So questions like, what card sums up your personality? Or how can you best help me? What is your area of expertise? This is really, not only is this really fun, but it's going to help you get to know your deck and get a better sense of your deck. And I'm going to share a worksheet with you that's got seven questions to ask your tarot cards. So show your gratitude. Treat your deck nicely. So, this comes up around, how you store your cards. So you don't need to store your cards, wrapped in a silk cloth or anything like that. But don't, treat your deck like it's an honored guest in your home. Don't just leave your deck lying around. And I'm kind of a hypocrite here because I have a lot of decks and sometimes I do just leave my decks lying around. But ideally you don't want to do that. So you want to treat your deck really nicely and you want to store it somewhere that feels, kind of special. And it's okay to store your cards in their original box on a bookshelf as long as that feels good for you. And thank your deck after reading. So what I usually do when I'm finished reading is I hold my deck in my hands and I say, thank you so much. And then I usually kind of give my deck a little kiss, which is weird. You don't have to do that. But that's what I do. So, show your gratitude and appreciation for your cards. Okay, so tarot secret number 3. See the tarot cards as people. So tarot cards are multi-dimensional. And sometimes, especially when we're first learning tarot, there is this tendency to really focus on assigning a meaning or assigning keywords to each card. And that can help us kind of learn and understand the cards, but ultimately the cards are multi-dimensional. They're not static. Think of a tarot card as being like a person. So you're a multidimensional person. You're not the same in every situation or circumstance. So how you behave when you're, out with your friends is going to be different than how you behave at work in a professional setting. And how you behave when you're, say, at home alone, lying in the bath, reading trashy magazines, is going to be different than how you behave when you're, say, with your family or, out in public. So how you behave is going to depend on your environment and, the situation. And tarot cards are no different. So the tarot card meanings are actually very fluid and they're affected by things like the surrounding cards in a reading, the question that you're asking, the position that card shows up in the spread, and the reader's intuition as well. So all of these things are going to affect how a tarot card is interpreted or what a tarot card means. So in a way it can be kind of useless to spend a whole bunch of time, memorizing the meanings, because the meanings are fluid. So see your tarot cards as beings, as if they're beings, and really get a sense of their vibe or their energy. So when you get a sense of a tarot card's essence, you'll have an easier time deciphering its message in a variety of contexts. And I'm going to show you what I mean by this. So there's something called what I call information versus energy. So think about when you meet a person for the first time. So say you're at a party and you're meeting someone and they're talking to you and they're telling you things about themselves. So they're giving you information. They might share, what they do for a living, if they're married, if they have kids, where they're from, what their hobbies are, etc. And all of this is helpful information that helps you kind of get to know that person a little better. But while you're sitting there talking to that person, you're also picking up on their energy. And you're getting a sense of what that person's energy is like. So this can feel, it could feel negative, like you've probably had that experience of meeting someone and just not liking them, not liking, getting maybe kind of a creepy vibe or not really enjoying being in their presence. And they might be telling you all great things. So on paper, this might be a really great person. But when you're sitting across from them, you get kind of an icky feeling. Or you can have a really positive feeling about someone. There's people who I know who I just love being around them. They're so uplifting and they're just a pleasure to be around. So tarot cards are kind of similar in that when you look at a tarot card, well, why don't we look at a tarot card? So here we have the Sun. This is from the Dame Darcy Mermaid Tarot deck, one of my favorite decks. So here we have the Sun. So what kind of information do we have about the Sun? So we know the Sun is a really positive card, and it's about positivity. It's a very warm card. It's a major arcana card, so it has a little more weight than the minor arcana cards. And it's a very extroverted card. It's very uplifting, very positive, and it usually means that everything's going to work out, well, in a good way. But what kind of an energy does this card have? So I want you to really feel into this card. Imagine that this card is like a person that you're meeting at a party. And I want you to get a sense of, how does this card make you feel? So when I tune into this card, the vibe or the essence that I get is this childlike kind of feeling. So there's this innocent feeling with this card. There's a bursting feeling with this card, like a here I am kind of vibe. It's sunny, it's warm, it's colorful, it's happy, it's uplifting. There's so much optimism here, and it's a very extroverted, optimistic kind of card. So when you get that sense of the card's energy and its essence, it can help you interpret a card in a variety of situations. So let's pretend that you're doing a reading for yourself and you ask the question, is there anything I need to stop doing? Is there anything I need to just let go of right now? And let's say you get this card. How would you interpret it? You might want to pause this video to give yourself time to think about it, but I'm going to share with you how I might interpret this card in that situation. So the Sun is a really positive card, but if it's telling me that this is what you need to let go of, this is what you need to stop doing, I would think, okay, maybe I need to let go of telling myself that I always have to be positive and upbeat. Maybe I don't need to be like that all the time. It's okay to not be optimistic all the time. So that's my interpretation. I don't need to be extroverted and out there and up all the time. It's okay to kind of step back and relax. So let's pretend you're doing a different reading. I want you to ask the question, what is the next step for me? And pretend that you drew this card. Now I want you to just relax for a minute, gaze at this card, and notice what it says to you. Let this card speak to you. What does the sun have to tell you about what your next step should be? And again, you might want to pause this video because I'm going to blather on about what I think. So I see this card, for me, I think the sun would be telling me my next step would be to just get out there, to take action, to be optimistic. Don't be afraid to put yourself out there, and don't be afraid to have fun. Don't be afraid to, be like a little kid again and see the world through, a child's eyes, and just have fun and kind of don't take things so seriously. So that's my interpretation. Okay, so tarot secret number 4 is to connect the cards to see the big picture. So my question for you is, how do you feel about connecting the cards in a reading? In one word. So if you can think of one word to sum up how you feel about connecting the cards in a reading, what would it be? I find that this is one of the biggest challenges for tarot readers. We all seem to be able to read one card on its own, but when we're doing a reading where we're reading multiple cards, sometimes it can be tricky to see how the cards go together and make connections amongst the cards. And I find that sometimes connecting the cards can feel overwhelming, especially if you're doing a reading with a lot of cards. It can feel like there's so much going on, and it can sometimes be really challenging to see the forest through the trees. So I'm going to show you one of my favorite techniques for connecting the cards in a reading. So think of a tarot reading as being like a letter, and each tarot card is a sentence in that letter. And think of it as being like an old-fashioned letter, like not an email, not a text, but one of those old-fashioned letters. And each card in the reading is like a sentence in that letter. So, I don't know if my face is going to fit here. I might have to get rid of my face. Okay, so here I've gotten rid of my face now, and we can just focus on the cards. So here we have a 3-card reading, and I find that this technique that I'm about to demonstrate works really well on smaller readings, especially 3-card readings. Sometimes it doesn't work as well for the bigger readings, but this is my favorite technique to use on smaller readings. So we have 3 cards here. We have Death, 7 of Cups, and we have the 4 of Swords. Now, I want you to look at these 3 cards and think about how you would sum each card up in one sentence. So let's start with the Death card. Have a look at this card, and how would you sum this card up in one sentence? What does it seem to be? What does it seem to be telling you? Let the card speak to you. So when I look at this card, I mean, death is about endings. It's about something coming to an end. It's about letting go. The message I get here is about, not being afraid to let go of something. The need to release something. And then let's move over to the 7 of Cups. The 7 of Cups, what's going on here? There's 7 cups. Things are jumping out of these cups. This card is all about options and how, you have many doors open to you. There's all different things going on. There's different options. And it's about needing to make some kind of a choice and focus on something and not get overwhelmed by the variety of choices. So the message with this card seems to be, you've got lots of options. Now, of course, you might get a different message when you look at your 7 of Cups card. That's okay. And then when we look at the 4 of Swords, this card is about rest, particularly mental rest. So our minds are often chattering away at us in the background all the time. But the 4 of Swords is about quieting the mind. So sometimes this card will depict someone meditating. And here we have someone sleeping, so it's about turning the mind off. So the message I get with this card is really, stop thinking. Stop thinking so hard, and perhaps even needing to go within for guidance. So now let's look at all these cards together. How would this reading become a letter? So let's start with Death again. The message here is, don't be afraid to let go. Seven of Cups, you've got lots of options. So don't be afraid to let go of something, because, when one door closes, another opens. There's lots of options. And then the last card seems to be saying, but don't think too hard about this. You're not going to solve this dilemma by thinking. You need to go within for guidance as to, what kinds of choices to make. So that, in a nutshell, is how I would read these three cards like a letter. And like I said, this technique doesn't work necessarily well for every reading you do, but I find it does work pretty well for smaller readings. And what it does is it kind of forces you to sum up a card in just a few words. And when you're doing this, don't think too hard about it. Just kind of let your mind go, relax, let the cards speak to you. Okay. So, I'm back. So now I want you to download your worksheet. So I have two fun worksheets for you. One of them is 7 questions to ask your tarot deck, and the other one is a worksheet on how to discover a card's essence. And I feel that it's going to help you put some of the things that you learned in this video training into practice. So download those right now, please, if you'd like to. And thank you so much for watching this video training. I really hope that you've had fun, and I hope you've learned a few things. And thank you so much for watching. And once again, my name's Kate. I'm also known as the Daily Tarot Girl, and you can check out my website. I've got lots of free resources there, lots of exercises, tarot spreads, deck reviews, all kinds of fun stuff. So have fun. So if you enjoyed that little video lesson, I want to tell you about my upcoming course. So I've got a 4-week tarot course coming up. It's called The Daily Tarot Girl's Guide to Intuitive Reading. And it starts October 31st, and I designed this course for both beginner and intermediate tarot readers who would like to learn how to read tarot with confidence, intuition, and skill. So your 4-week online course includes 4 to 5 new video lessons each week, fun worksheets and exercises to help you learn and practice each concept, and there will be live Q&A sessions each week, which will be recorded and available for download after. So if you can't be there live, there's always going to be a recording. There will be a private Facebook group for members of this course, so that's a great place for you to ask me questions, interact, meet your fellow students, and practice your new skills. And there's going to be weekly contests and challenges with awesome prizes. All course materials are fully downloadable, and you have lifetime access to all course content. So even if you don't finish all the videos or finish everything by the time the course ends, it's all still going to be there, so you can go back at your own pace, really for as long as you like. Well, as long as the internet exists. So I want to give you just a quick sort of synopsis of what each week looks like. So week 1, this is all about igniting your intuition, and you're going to learn how to meet your inner psychic, 3 powerful ways to be more intuitive without meditating, for those of you who don't want to meditate, 10 ways to read a tarot card intuitively, and how to use a tarot card to unlock the secrets within. Week 2 is all about understanding the tarot card meanings. So one thing that I don't do in this course is I don't give you meanings for each card. I feel like there's a million books out there that do that, so I don't do that. Instead, I teach you how to connect with the cards so that you can better understand the meanings yourself. So in week 2, we focus on understanding the tarot meanings, aligning with the 4 suits, so cups, wands, swords, pentacles. I teach you how to develop a personal connection with each card, and how to read tarot with your heart. Week 3 is all about context and combinations. So in week 3, I'm going to show you how to interpret a tarot card in many different contexts and situations. You're going to learn how the cards influence each other in a reading, and we're going to talk about asking the right questions. So how to ask really good questions so that you get a great reading. Week 4 is all about tarot spreads and connecting the cards. So in week 4, you're going to be crafting your very own tarot spreads. I'm going to show you 5 ways to connect the cards in a reading. You're going to learn how to tell a story with the cards and how to see the big picture in a reading and decipher its true message. So classes begin on September 18th, so you can sign up for this course anytime before September 18th. And I'm going to put the sign up button just below this video. So if you are watching this on YouTube, I'm going to put the link to my sign up page in the description box below this video. And if you're watching this video on my website, there will be a sign up button right below this video. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in my class. And if you want more info on learning about how to read tarot cards, you can check out my website, dailytarotgirl.com.